The Monroe Institute is where they do this gateway experience, and to this day they still do this. I really want to go now. We could talk to each other in our minds is what this is saying.
Maybe we'll practice that later.
Welcome to another episode of Goddess Hangs.
Episode number 16.
Woo! I'm Sadie.
I'm Juliet.
Obviously.
Oh my goddess.
Oh my goddess. We have such a cool topic today. It was super fun to see your guys' guesses. You're pretty spot on. We're going to do like catch up time, but we're going to talk about the CIA document that was released that is talking about the gateway experience, which is essentially like astral projection, out of body experiences, how the universe actually works. We live in a freaking hologram. It's really cool.
Yes.
So we read the actual full 30-page document and made notes to talk to you guys about. It's gonna be really
I felt
fun.
like I was back in college.
I know. I was like rereading stuff. I don't understand half these words, but we got there. It was super fun.
I was getting stressed out a little bit. I was like, is this going to be on the test? And I was like, no.
And I was like, maybe Juliet will understand this part, so I'm going to skip over it.
I did the same thing. We probably skipped over it. Well, hopefully because we just complete
did
each
pretty
other.
Good, yeah. But first, Juliet, how have you been? What's up? What went on this week since I saw you last?
I have been good. I feel I keep looking at myself with this high ponytail and I feel like I look like a little egg. And I learned that in the olden days, that's specific, in the 1600s maybe?
In the olden days. I always said that when I was a kid.
The beauty trend was to literally look like an egg, like to have the most oval face possible.
Oh.
This could be wrong.
A sign of fertility.
And people would pluck back their hairlines as far back as they could because they wanted their face to seem more oval shaped. But that's not anything new with me. I just thought I looked a little eggy today. And then it reminded me of that. It's fun. I don't usually do a high pony, but I'm enjoying it.
And I don't usually wear buns like this. I'm like, are they even? Are they not? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
We are mixing it up and we are confident in our hair choices today.
We're crushing it.
Oh my goddess.
Oh my goddess.
So what's new with me? I feel like the week went by so fast.
It really did.
I did a little Sadie-inspired shopping at the Dollar Tree.
Ooh.
I got my candles, my $1 candles. I got my $1 bag of rose petals and stuff.
Oh, they never, I always look at if they have dried flowers at mine. They never do.
I mean, I think that's what it is. It's
like a potpourri mix?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe that was the wrong thing to buy. And then
it's good.
I bought 6 sponges for $1.
Ooh.
They also have Reynolds wrap. There's a lot of things that I need to not buy at Target anymore. That was what I learned this week.
I like the LA, because we have a Dollar Tree in my hometown. And it's very small and there's not that much stuff there. We would go there for candy as like teenagers, you know, before the movies or whatever. But the LA dollar stores, the 99-cent store, even the Dollar Trees here, there's a bunch of different dollar stores.
It's something else.
They're lit. There's so much stuff. I couldn't believe it. I love the dollar stores.
So I made a trip to the dollar store. This is sort of, I feel like my stories are going to be a little mediocre this week, but it's just my normal life. So we got a TV for our bedroom about 9 weeks ago, and it just progressively just got worse and worse. It wasn't working. You would turn it on, it would choke, it would freeze. It wasn't the Wi-Fi. We tried everything, and I was like, we're going to go back to Best Buy, and they're going to take it back. Even though it was
it a new TV?
It was brand new. I mean, it was past the 15-day.
Yeah, but if it's, if it's not working brand new.
But I just had an intention. I was like, it's not going to be a problem. They're going to take it back. They're going to happily give us store credit and we're going to get a better TV. So we get there and I'm envisioning and this is how you can use manifestation in little ways. Because if you go in thinking they're just going to tell me no. And, you know, so I went in like, no, it'll be totally fine. The coolest guy in the world happened to be the store manager that day.
Yeah.
And it was like walking into a frat house. He was like, no problem. He was so sweet. He's like, ooh, did you say you bought it in January? I said, yeah, Richard, but it really doesn't work.
Yeah, that they have to, yeah. That's TV should last longer than that.
So Best Buy has a flexible return policy if you talk to a kind manager. What else? We have a beautiful TV. I've been watching Friends as I get ready. I reached out to our mentor, Megan, medium Megan Hart, because I've been having this thing with medium readings where either it is the most spot on, unbelievable, like I can't even believe it experience, or kind of mediocre. And I reached out and I said, is it that the spirit doesn't want to connect with me, or they're not in the mood, or, and what she shared with me, which I'll share with you and you
and me,
is she said spirit always is there and always wants to show up. It's something, it's if we're willing to show up. And so she was like, are you trying to do too many readings in a day? Are you charging too much? Are you charging too little? And things like, what is it in you that's where there's an energy block where you're not showing up?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I realized I was trying to do too many in a day, because I would do a really amazing one and then the one right after would be not as great.
Yeah, when I've done one after the other, I still have stuff coming in from the first one that'll like trickle in, or it's just it's like fuzzier where I'm like, I saw things so clearly, and then this one I'm like, maybe that's this, or it's like there's like static from the first one or something. It's like weird. It's like a radio signal overcrossing, like when you're in between radio stations.
Yes,
kind of feels like that.
So I think that's going to be my goal the next week or so, is like just. I think I tend to be a little casual about it. Like, all right, thank you. And on next, like as if I work at the DMV. And I need to be a little more like, we begin, we do the ceremony, we close, we give space. Yeah. And I think that's going to help.
Yeah.
But it actually
maybe it is a matter of charging more if you're going to do less in a day, because you are doing really amazing and spot on. So charge a little more so you can make the same amount of money, because you are worth that value, but you're not doing as many readings in a day.
It's just been getting profound lately. Like I'll be like, they're saying Donna Jo, is her name Donna Jo? They're like, it's Donna Jean. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's so cool.
And then the next one, I'm like, they're showing me this, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh. So because we are developing psychic mediums, I thought it would be nice to share
part of the process,
that part of the process, where it's like, you know, like with anything in life, we have to like learn and grow and try things out and see what we're doing wrong. But I actually really liked that she's like, no, like everything's perfect on their end, it's you. I was like, oh good, then it's in my control.
Whenever I've sat down and felt like rushed for time or something because I have other stuff, it just isn't the same. And I'll be like, okay, I just have to try again tomorrow. Like the person won't care if it's, they want a really good one a day later than a mediocre one a certain day.
Exactly.
I haven't been doing many readings because I don't really advertise it much when I'm like in the middle of making a course and all that stuff. But I want to do readings again. I need to start pushing that when I'm kind of in between. I'll have a little in between time before I launch again. So cool though. I know you're doing so good.
Thank you. I'll show you later.
Yeah.
Like I'll play the audio, or I could ask this person if they're willing to let me play it on the podcast, but I would love to play like what channeled through me and then read what they wrote back, because it's just interesting. You'll be like, ooh.
It's really cool. We'll have to, so maybe we can do an episode like that.
Yeah, just to like see the process.
Let us know if you're interested in an
know.
episode like that where we go over some readings that we've done with people.
Some like behind the scenes readings. A look back at
our
favorite readings. And then the last thing that's new is I am so excited because your intuition always guides you exactly where you need to be, and when you listen to it, it's the best. And I'm becoming friends with my downstairs neighbor, and she's so fun. And so that's been like a fun thing. Like, oh, I could have picked any apartment, and yet here I am with this like really sweet, lovely neighbor.
I love that.
And I've always wanted like a neighbor friend.
And you don't always like when you're little out. You're not in like LA. Neither of us are anymore. So but you still like in apartments and stuff. You don't typically. It's not the same as a small town where you know all your neighbors by name and you know become friends and have block parties and whatever. LA is not very much. I don't know, my experience.
Right. It's not like it was so sweet. Like she came by last night to like watch some YouTube and TV shows.
I love
and then
that.
Went home.
Yeah.
It's like this is.
I know
like,
our neighbor. We live in a 4 apartment complex, so it's cool because we know all of our neighbors by name, and everyone's always like they have to go in front of our apartment to get their mail, so everyone stops and says, hey, how about this weather? You know, like it's the neighbor conversation like every day with each of them, and it's really cute and sweet. And like our door's always open because the cats wander in and out. And so I don't know, our one neighbor just, walks right in and talks to Craig, and it's just sweet to have that energy of like, I don't know, community. I
know. I'm big on that. Yeah. I love that. So that's all that's really new with me. What about you?
Well, I went to church.
Oh my God, how'd it go?
Remember last week I talked about all these signs that led me to go to church. It was awesome.
Take her to church.
Okay. Yeah. Take me to church. So it was like, Sunday church. It is non-denominational Christian church. So it was interesting. Well, let me start here. So first out, Craig was like all game to go. God bless him. He's like, yeah, I'll go to church. Aww. Your mom said, let's go to church. Let's go. He's just always down with my crazy, like, the universe gave me a sign. We got to do this. He's like, okay, no questioning. But then Sunday morning, we stayed up late we took a nap on Saturday. And so then we stayed up really late, and like church wasn't until 11, but on Sunday morning I was just like tired. I didn't want to get out of bed. And I was like, maybe we'll just watch the live stream, whatever. And he's like, no, get up. We're going. So I again had like the resistance of like, I don't want to do a new thing, but we ended up going, and it was the most LA church ever. It was so awesome. Like, so it's in an outdoor tent, and it's in the rich neighborhood, like up the road, Rolling Hills Estates, if that kind of tells you
love that
what it is. And I guess I just kind of gave away where I live, but whatever. I mean, it's like 20 minutes away, so
you're fine.
Yeah. But anyways, so it's in this gigantic tent. They've got this stage set up with these huge speakers and lights and this huge screen behind the pastor to show him big, it was like going to a concert. The setup had to be like $50,000. It was insane. The band is like a rock star band. There's so many talented people in LA, like, of course. But the singers are amazing. There's guys with guitars and drums. It was awesome. And they were singing. I'm like kind of crying a little. I was like, wow, this is really powerful. And the pastor was really cool. He was really funny. He was like cracking jokes. Craig loved it and didn't take himself like too seriously,
He's like, let's take this on the road.
And I was like, maybe you should talk to them about throwing a stand-up show here. Like, the stage is amazing. But it was cool to go back to church as like someone who is very confident in my beliefs and like who I am, and like emotionally intelligent, because some of the stuff that the pastor talked about did not resonate with me, and I didn't feel triggered by that. I didn't feel like upset. I was just like, oh, like, I'm gonna come to church on Sundays and take what resonates with me and leave the rest, just like everything else when it comes to spirituality. Yeah. And Craig was the same way. We were both like, about 90% of that was like great and helpful, and then some of it was like a little too conservative for us when he was talking about certain whatever. So it was just great, and I was so like proud of myself for going there, not like brushing off the whole experience for like 3 minutes of him talking about something a little too like intensely for me, where I was like, like, okay, we don't need to go that far into it. So yeah, we're gonna go back. We really liked it, and it was really inspiring. We both felt like really good after. Then we went to like a really fun it was like a late lunch, early dinner date, and it was just like a beautiful day, and it was so nice. It was a good experience. I was like, thanks, Mom, for pointing out that church. I love the music of church, so I love singing along. They had the words up on the screen. The band is what really did it for me.
Oh my gosh, my friends were the my friends are all in music, and so they also would like for a while be the band at the church. Like my friend Sean, his brother Ryan, would play drums, and they would be like, oh yeah, come hang out. And I just loved the music. I would go just for the music, and then I would sort of maybe zone out when the talking started, then the songs came back, and I was all back into it again.
Yeah, it really raises your vibration.
Yeah.
It was fun. And I don't know, in Wisconsin, like I'm from a small town, so it was just like the music teacher of our school played the piano and sang. And God bless her,
whole ordeal here.
It wasn't that good. Don't tell Mrs. Hoyer I said that. I wonder if she's still there. No, she was a wonderful teacher. I'm just saying, like, it was just like one woman and a piano, and this is like a whole band and like amazing LA singers. That was cool. It was really fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was sweet.
I love that.
So we're gonna go back again. And like how I said my mom was like telling me that I needed to study the Bible. There was something for me to learn in there. Oh my God, I wrote something down to tell you guys. So this church just goes like passage by passage through the Bible, like every service, like in order, and like he talks to you and breaks it down. So it's like literally, instead of reading the Bible on my own, I can just go to church every Sunday and learn a little bit more about the Bible as we go through it.
I love that.
But where is it? Okay. I probably wrote down the quote not exactly right because we were in church and I was trying to like voice text it really quietly quick.
And then he said,
I didn't want to look like I was texting. But there was a quote that he went over that was about manifestation and about how the desires that are in your heart are meant for you, which we talk about.
Oh, wow.
Like you are so worthy of your desires because they're meant for you. And he said this, the quote, my ears are ringing right now. Holy shit. Okay, so it says, delight yourself in the Lord and he gives you the desires of your heart.
Oh, wow.
Which literally means like, and you, if the Lord doesn't resonate with you, it just means like align yourself with like who you're meant to be, with like your highest good, which is like the Lord or like the source of love. Align yourself with that, and what's meant for you will be what you desire. Like if you don't know what you want, you need to become who you are and like align yourself with that just source of ultimate love and worthiness, and then the desires will be that are meant for you will be placed there. And I was like, oh my God, that's literally what I talk about all the time. And like he brings, of course, the day that I finally go to that church after I've been sent there, he says that quote. I was like, this is for me.
Oh my God, I love that.
It was so cool. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What else is new this week?
Sadie went to church. I went to Best Buy. It was
both religious experiences.
Richard was kind of like a preacher. No. Okay, go on.
I don't know what else is new. That was my big thing.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah. The cats are doing great.
Yay.
We got some new furniture. You did?
Yes.
What happened to the cat?
I just had to carry him around everywhere, and I was in New York.
Oh.
But he was like a little baby, and he didn't mind. But you got a new couch?
We got a new couch. We like reset up more of our home is feeling more like our, our space, our dream space by the minute.
Good.
We're finally like getting the missing pieces that, it's so easy to put off. You're like, oh, we'll get to it. And Craig really took initiative and he went out and found all this stuff. And I was like, thank you. Because when I'm busy and I have a lot of work to do, he distracts me a lot and he knows it. So he tries to like keep himself busy. God bless him. We've talked about that. I'm like, babe, pretend I'm not here right now. And he's like, is it okay if I bother you for 1 second quick? And I'm like, yes. I'm not going to say no, but
Let me set down my spell.
So no, it was really sweet. He was like, you know what? I'm going to go get all the stuff that we've been wanting. I'm going to go figure it out. And he would just send me pictures and I'd, approve or not approve. And he's very, in sync with what I like. So it was easy. But yeah, it's very exciting.
What a week.
What a week. So
all right, now let's blow your minds.
Okay, this might be a while. I don't know. We got a lot of stuff.
I know. I have my notes on my computer.
So we will definitely link below, or maybe you've already seen it, the link to the actual CIA document. It's available for anyone to read. So the study itself is from 1983, and it was released to the public in 2003. But I don't think it really got a lot of publicity until this last year, because all of a sudden I started seeing YouTubers and people on Instagram and all this stuff talking about it. So like, I don't know if just recently someone came across it and then made it go viral again or what.
I don't know.
But it was released back in 2003, and it's what it is. It's literally called, I wrote it down, Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. And I wrote down what that means, so we can start there.
Okay.
So the Gateway Process is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between left and right hemispheres of the brain, so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere, so as to ultimately escape the restrictions of time and space. The participant then gains access to the various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. So the CIA did a study on this process of, this form of meditation in which you can, it's not even really astral project. It's like escape the confines of your physical body of time and space and connect to source consciousness, which they call the absolute.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah. So if we say the absolute, they capitalized absolute as a proper noun, so you could think of it as like God or source or the universe. But yeah, so I have so many notes. What's a note that you wrote down?
I have so many notes too. Maybe we'll just sort of go back and forth.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that this was headed, the letterhead and everything, this was put together by the Army, because the Army wanted to study how we can weaponize remote viewing. Like, how can we get people to be able to see things and see places that aren't in front of them? Basically, remote viewing, out-of-body experiences, it's all about being able to see things you've never seen, things, tell me what this bunker looks like. Tell me what...
I thought it was interesting they cited a specific thing where they were saying like, okay, it's hard to use this consistently because there are some things that get warped when you travel like that. But for some of the experiments, they would simply have people like on the West Coast of the US, and they were like, okay, now we have numbers up on a computer on the East Coast. We need you to like project yourself there, read those numbers, and come back and tell me the numbers. And there would be 10 numbers, and they wouldn't get all 10 right, but they would get like 8 of the 10 numbers right.
Wow.
Like so specific, like you and I have experience of seeing things from the past or present in terms of like reading energetic frequencies, but this is beyond that. This is like literally like traveling.
So it was basically this branch of the Army that was trying to figure out like, can we train people to meditate basically, in such a way that the knowledge they get from those experiences, like we can outsmart anybody.
It's like a form of spying, and also this just all-knowing consciousness where exactly like you can figure out how to do things that haven't been done before.
So that was sort of the purpose of the study. I did want to say that. All right, you go with your next note.
Okay, so the intro, I thought this was helpful to understand. So the things that kind of are involved in this study are quantum mechanics, human consciousness, time-space dimension, hypnosis, biofeedback, and transcendental meditation. And what I thought was so cool that was literally stated in the thing was that the goal is to take these things from occult connotations, psychics, witches, the occult, and bring them into objective assessment, prove that these are real and true. And they also said, understand, as it was like this, like kind of like, hey, so as you move through this paper, just so you know, it's going to require not only your logical brain, but you have to allow your intuitive insight to grasp these things, because they're so beyond our logic and reasoning of what we've experienced so far, because our logical brain kind of has these blinders of our experiences in life so far, so it has this almost like warning, like, hey, you're gonna need to be open and use your like intuitive insight as you read this. So I thought that was cool.
Yes. And these are all ways, the things that Sadie just mentioned, like transcendental meditation.
I did make some notes. I thought it would be cool to talk about those three things.
Why don't you go through those?
Okay.
But here's what I'll say. All those things, the reason, they're all paths to do this thing called hemisync, which is syncing the right side and the left side, the hemispheres of your brain, so that they are like going through their waves and their motions at the exact same time in the exact same way.
Yeah.
And that is the state in which you can then do these out-of-body experiences, these remote viewings, all sorts of stuff. So as we go through these different, paths, just know that that's the ultimate end goal.
Yes. So okay, so the gateway experience is altered states of consciousness involving hemisphere synchronization, hemisync. And so our left hemisphere takes in information and passes it to the right hemisphere of our brain. So the right hemisphere, it receives without question the information it receives. So to me, that means conscious and subconscious.
Ooh,
Is that how you read that?
I don't remember reading that exact line.
Okay.
I might have skipped over that.
So what hypnosis does is it puts your left brain is the conscious, the more like logic. And remember, like your hemispheres like cross. So like your right brain belongs to like your left hand and so on. So your left brain takes in information, passes it to the right, and the right perceives it without question. So we talk about like affirmations. Your affirmations are coming in through your left brain, and it's giving the information to your right brain, who says, "Oh, okay, this must be true." And that's how you're training like a new neural pathway. Hypnosis puts your left brain to sleep essentially, and then the hypnotist or the thing you're listening to, it gives information straight to the right brain, so your left brain can't argue out of it.
Yes. So the left brain is sort of like what Sadie just said. It's like sort of like the monkey mind. Like the ego lives there. It's there to protect us. It's there to, don't trip on that. I mean, we need it. And it's always looking for new information. That's sort of like its job, to take in all the information, notice differences, make comparisons, and so on. So for example, I think they mentioned using a pendulum with hypnotism. When you are looking at this pendulum going back and forth, there's no new information. There's nothing to decide. There's nothing to observe. There's nothing to compare. So the part of your brain that is responsible for all that starts to go to sleep. And that's when you can get into the right side. That's my added note about that.
Yeah, and I found that so interesting, because I never really sought out how to or to understand how hypnosis works. I knew it worked. Like I knew people would get hypnotized and like quit smoking all of a sudden or break other bad habits. But it's because you skip the left brain that has these rituals or habits or beliefs or whatever stuck in it, and you bypass it and go right to the right brain. You say, this is the truth now, and your right brain goes, oh, okay. So I thought that was interesting. And then the other one they mention is transcendental meditation, which if you've heard of like Kundalini energy before, that's what they're talking about. So it's drawing energy up the spinal cord through concentration, and this creates what they described as acoustical waves that travel up to the brain, and it goes up to the right side of the brain. And this sort of meditation also changes your heart rhythm, and these vibrations become in sync and they trigger pleasure centers in the brain. So I don't have a lot of experience directly. I've done like Kundalini yoga, which is supposed to like awaken that energy within your
didn't we try that
spine
together? And
was
we
that
were like,
Kundalini
with
with the humming and stuff? Yeah. So it's a very specific kind of energy that you're bringing out, but this is another way that you can get access to the right side of your brain. And then biofeedback. Okay, so I did biofeedback as a kid because I had chronic migraines. And so when I was reading this, I was like, oh my God, I forgot that I used to do this.
Can you explain it? Because all I wrote down was activate certain nerves.
Okay, so so let me read my notes and then I'll explain my experience. Okay, so instead of suppressing the left brain like hypnosis does or bypassing it like the transcendental meditation does, you use the left brain in biofeedback. So you're using it to visualize it sounds like manifestation. You use your left brain to visualize the desired result. And then it literally says there, and then recognize associated feelings of success of the desired result. It's literally manifestation.
Oh, wow.
So this activates certain parts of your brain, which for some reason raise your temperature. And I remember as a little girl, I had to put this little thermometer on my finger when I was practicing this at home. And then I would practice visualizations that the doctor gave me in order to raise my temperature. And then once I raised my temperature, I had to focus on my brain and where I would feel pain. And I would have to focus on the feeling that I no longer had those migraines, because I had chronic migraines that no medication or anything would help. And we don't know why. And I had nothing, I got scans and everything. And I had nothing going on there, no tumors or anything. So what happens is you raise your temperature and it shows that you've reached the correct parts of your brain. You've activated the correct parts. I don't know why the temperature raising happens, but as you do this, you raise your temperature, which I've also noticed when I get in a certain form of meditation, I get hot. So I guess I'm practicing this.
Okay.
And then when you're at that point, you've tapped into those parts of your brain. The left side then instructs the right to reestablish pathways for success. So you could do this in visualizing your dream home and visualizing what it would feel like to live in your dream home and all of the details. And then you would raise your temperature. And then you would say, okay, I'm going to keep focusing on this and rework your neural pathways into this belief system. And then in turn, your brain's going to give you the answers on how to achieve that. Most often, this is used for healing and pain, which is what I was taught by a doctor.
I'd never heard of it.
So you can, if you have a knee injury, you could practice biofeedback and visualize it all healing around there. I would visualize light in the area of my brain that hurt. So yeah, biofeedback uses your left brain, meditation bypasses your left brain, and hypnosis puts to sleep your left brain. That was the differences.
And then they mentioned you could also do Zen meditation, but they kind of glossed over that.
Yeah. Because transcendental is like a very powerful, deep. Okay, so.
Oh, and I wrote hemisync is when both sides of the brain's EEG patterns have the same frequency and amplitude. If that helps clear anything up.
This helped me understand too. It had the lamp versus laser.
That's next.
So it was saying like, well, you go ahead on this one. I just talked a lot.
Oh, okay. So it was saying that through these processes, your mind goes from a lamp to a laser focus. And what I understood that to mean was that normally like our mind is turned on and it's like a nice little light, which sort of like gently warms the room in all directions.
We notice everything a little bit. We're in tune with things a little bit.
Yeah, because we're always aware of our surroundings. It's like sort of the animal that is us, just always knowing what's around for safety, for our health, our success, whatever. But when you take all that light and you condense it and you point it in one place, I mean, think of how powerful a laser is. A laser can cut through metals.
And all it is concentrated energy.
Light and energy, yeah. So it was saying the mind can then bring itself to more sophisticated and rarefied levels of the universe. When we focus that energy, that attention, we can complete, like, it's like a transformative experience. And I just loved how it said like rarefied levels of the universe. I was like, ooh.
In one way, so it didn't say this, but I think it's when it's binaural beats is when you listen to two different frequencies in your brain, and that helps you with focus and different things. It made me think of that because I was dealing with the two different hemispheres. Would they be listening to the same frequency in each ear to make sure or do you listen to the binaural beats to adjust and get your different frequencies to go into the same frequency? That's what I wasn't clear about.
How do you say the word?
Binaural beats?
Binaural?
I don't know. Maybe that's wrong.
Okay.
Comment below. You said it wrong.
Correct us. It's one frequency in this ear and one frequency in this ear, and our brain, in our head, when we have the different ones in each ear, it creates it to make it sound like it's one sound.
So I think it helps our two hemispheres work together. So yeah. Okay.
Because I put the entire body is a tuned vibrational system. The earth, of course, lost my thought. The earth vibrates at 7 to 7.5 hertz. Is that what Hz is? And humans vibrate from 6.8 to 7.5. So we literally, oh gosh. And then I wrote down, was this in the reading, or is this something I then put together? Like everything is literally energy vibrating quickly, like nothing is actually matter.
Yeah, I have that coming up.
Okay, so I'll pump the brakes. So
this note is interesting. So harmony between waves of both brain hemispheres is the goal, but it also includes harmony between these waves in both sides of your brain and your heart.
Oh, yes.
It was talking about, so the frequency of our heart beating also interrupts, you could say, our the frequencies in our brain and in our whole body. So you're also trying to get in sync your heart as well as your brain. And when you use these techniques, and there is a specific gateway technique that I think they introduced these three because they're kind of parts of the whole. But the gateway technique harmonizes your two sides of your brain and your heart, and then ultimately the whole frequency your body's vibrating at. And the ultimate goal is to then match the electromagnetic frequency of the earth. So then you're connected, and then rising beyond that. So it's raising your vibration, which we talk about all the time.
Right.
And the higher frequency you vibrate at, the closer you become to the absolute, which is infinity, in which the waves, they don't have a frequency because they're infinite. That's how I understood it, because a wave, if you're watching the video, I'm putting my fingers up and down, a wave is like this, or it's like this, but the absolute is just this.
Oh, wow.
And so there's like it's like nothingness and everything at the same time.
Okay.
So the higher we raise our frequency, the closer we're becoming to that nothingness slash everything. I mean, it gets so trippy when you get deeper and deeper in that.
I know, we get to the cosmic egg, like we're gonna have to have a chat.
Oh my God.
I think what I love about this is you hear a lot of people tossing around the phrase like, oh, stay high vibe, stay high vibe. And you hear it a lot and you're like, for sure, like I'll be positive. But it's literal, it's about
vibration.
Literally raising your vibration.
Yeah.
Because this is like a scientifically proven thing that our bodies vibrate at a certain frequency. Our planet vibrates. This chair is vibrating at a certain frequency.
If you want to know ways to raise your vibration, listen to our episode about our high vibe routine, because that was lots of ways that we I had more notes about it. Yeah, raising frequencies to match frequencies of the universe. You kind of like go up in levels of like the earth, and then the different dimensions, and it goes like beyond, and then the ultimate would be the absolute. And then so when you get to a certain point in these vibrations, you can experience the out of body movement, and then as well as you can communicate with minds in similar frequencies. So the Monroe Institute is where they do this gateway experience, and to this day they still do this. I really want to go now. But let's say they have 12 people in a room that they're taking through this gateway experience, and me and Juliet were there. We could talk to each other in our minds, is what this is saying. Yeah. Which is crazy.
Maybe we'll practice that later.
Yeah, so...
The face you made was so cute.
That's my concentration face. So consciousness and energy is what came up next, and what Juliet was saying, and which I actually talk about this as the intro to every course I teach, because I think it's so important, is that like basically we live in the matrix.
Yeah.
And there's more studies. So this was all in 1983, this study, and there's even more beyond, but we'll just talk about what they have at this point in this study, which is that okay, so we all know, or maybe we recall, that atoms are kind of the building block of the universe, and atoms are made up of electrons and neutrons
and protons.
What's the nucleus? The
nucleus is protons and neutrons, and then all the electrons go around it.
Yeah. Okay, I was like, I forgot the word of it. What I think is really cool that I have in my course is that the nucleus, the center part of it, and the distance to the electrons is equidistant to the sun and the planets.
Wow.
So we're literally made up of tiny universes, and I'm like, what if we are a cell in a really gigantic universe?
We are. I always think that.
Yeah, like we're just chilling on someone's thumb right now. I don't know. That's what I always think about. It's cool.
It's like
and who's
recommendation. Horton here's a who.
Yeah.
Recommended reading.
But then when you break it down to the atom is 99% space. So like the concept of something being solid actually does not exist. It's simply the frequency that it vibrates at that makes something seem solid and have density or texture or color or whatever.
Which, like, I can hear that a million times over, but it's one of those things that it's like, you know it, but it's sort of hard to know it.
But this is what blows my mind.
Okay.
If you take all of the space out of our atoms and the human population.
Okay, so all the 99%
all the humans,
space.
You take all the space out of our atoms. Guess what we would fit in?
Oh, I think I know this, but you say it.
A sugar cube. We would all fit in a sugar cube. The entire world population. That's how much air you are. That's how much space you are.
Well, and what is space? It's energy.
Yeah.
It's energy.
It's just the vibration. So, and everything has a vibration, including our emotions, which is why one, manifesting, the emotion part of it, the feeling part of it is so key and powerful, is because it's like we're like little radio towers that send out these broadcasts, which is studied in this CIA document and is like, yes, that is correct.
Right. Right.
It's basically saying that you can manifest anything. At the end, it actually has a warning of like, don't try to manifest too quickly. You might destroy your reality. And I was like, oh shit.
How did I miss that part? Maybe I got tired towards the end. It was like 2 a.m. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed like the
It literally has a warning of like, be careful of trying to skip too much around your reality and creating too much, because you might destroy your concept of like your reality in this dimension. That's crazy.
Ooh.
Okay, so do you want to talk about holograms?
Yeah, I think the more we discuss it, the more I'll understand it. I think it's another thing that it's like, I know it, but I don't fully know it. So you go ahead with the hologram, and I'll chime in with what I have and what I understand about it.
Okay.
Because I feel like
I have
you
notes.
soaked this in better.
I've been studying it for a while. I've read this once before. Okay. I didn't make it all the way through. I just gave up and started looking at YouTube videos of other people describing it. But this time I didn't look at anything else, and I only read it because I wanted to, just give you what I got. And disclaimer, this is our understanding of it. Who knows if we got it all right. I think we did a pretty good job. But okay, so holograms is... Okay, how do I explain this? Energy creates, stores, and retrieves meaning in the universe by projecting or expanding at certain frequencies in a 3D mode that creates a living pattern. So what that means is how do I explain this? I understand it in my brain. It's so hard to explain. Basically, I have more notes about it. So our brain takes a 2D hologram, like our brain takes in the information as 2D. And then our brain cycles through it and creates the 3D model in front of us. It's like, so we live in a 3-dimensional world, but the information as we're retrieving it is in 2D, and then as it processes through it, we project the hologram.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So, consciousness is what allows us to live in the 3D world. Our consciousness always exists, and right now we exist in reality. So reality does have a beginning and an end, but our consciousness is infinite. And when our consciousness chooses to come into reality in the 3D, consciousness literally creates our brain, creates everything. And as we move through the world, it's moving everything from the 2D into the 3D, which is the hologram, is the projection of what we see.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's so hard to explain.
I was there's the whole they use the idea of like a pebble falling in water. And I'm going to try my best to explain this.
I didn't really get that. I don't know. You try and explain it.
Okay. So a hologram is, from my understanding, created when an item in motion collides with an item at rest. So if the water is completely still and you drop in a pebble, what happens is all those ripples go outwards. And what it was saying was, so, if you were to freeze the ice right at that moment, you would see this 3-dimensional pattern of like things going this way, things going that way. And then it said that even if what makes it a hologram, and comment if I'm wrong, is if you smashed up that ice.
This is the part that trips me out.
This blew my mind. If you smash up that ice after it had been frozen in that moment of all the ripples, and you picked up, and so it's smashed up, it's in a million pieces, and you pick up any piece of that ice and you put it under a microscope, it has the whole picture in it. You see the whole picture of what that whole big piece of ice looked like. Now it's going to be a bit more pixelated. It's not going to be as sharp. But it was saying that each little part of the hologram, even if the ice was shattered, is the hologram. And then I put parentheses, what? And then it says, the universe itself is one huge complex hologram, items in motion colliding with items at rest. Perhaps the brain does not create consciousness, but consciousness creates the illusion of the brain. Also, our minds are a hologram. And then I also wrote, what? So it's like everything is... And then it was saying that like an item, okay, so let's say everything's still. If I disrupt, which we're all doing all the time, here I am disrupting, I'm speaking, I'm moving, whatever. Yeah. My energy of that is kind of going on infinitely and then bouncing back. And it's affecting everybody else's hologram. And
it said it took like 0.07 seconds to travel across the entire universe or something, or around the world or something, which is the butterfly effect in motion.
Right. So it's like, I think for me, it was like seeing these examples and hearing all these things. And then the hologram thing, right? Like everything, you break it all up and there it is. It reminded me of like, how you were talking about, oh my gosh, it's so hard to put this into words.
I know.
How the solar system is like
exactly
like everything that you go smaller into is the thing itself, and then there's us, and then you go into us, and then there's the cells, then you go into that. Like everything is kind of going infinitely both outward and inward.
Yeah. It's just like those, I don't know if you guys have come across them. Maybe we can find some before we post this episode, but there's like a close-up zoomed in of the eye, and then of like the space of like a galaxy, and then there's like the roots of a tree, and I don't know if, I think that like one was like
a brain.
Yeah, the brain, the pathways across our brain. Like there's example after example of repeated models and patterns in our universe, which just goes to show like, this is all... It's so cool. It's so hard to explain. Let us know if we're doing a good job and if you have questions.
And then the other thing that I gathered is that like, so you're watching us on a screen and we're on a flat screen, but because you're perceiving as like, oh, there's something behind me and there's probably lights in front of me, like that in itself is a hologram because you're seeing us as three-dimensional, but we're really just a completely flat thing. So everything, our television, our phone, we're interacting with holograms all day long.
Yeah.
So and
the gateway experience, the kind of the point of it is to allow us to perceive more of the universal hologram. It's like, how do I go beyond the, what's in front of me? What trips me out is to think like, if my brain is the one making all of this real around me, right? Is what's outside right now not really there until I step outside?
Oh my gosh, I think that all the time. I'm like, does North Carolina exist? If I'm not, I mean, of course it does. But like,
it's like that, I don't know, until I step into the next room, is it really there? Because my brain is creating the 3D solid reality. Is everything just... not here? It's just, it makes me feel like I'm high when I'm not high. You know what I mean? I'm like, I get tripped out and I'm like, ah.
In the beginning when it was talking about the brain, did it mention, or was this something I tied in? Did it mention, and is it pineal or pineal gland?
I think it's pineal gland.
Pineal gland. Did it mention that as part of the brain?
No, it actually didn't talk about that.
Okay. I do want to say, I learned last night that part of our brain, the reason why it's called, why there's the connection. I don't know if it's pineal or
pineal. Now I'm doubting myself.
To the third. This is not a science show. This is go somewhere else.
It's your third eye gland.
And the reason they call it that is because you have photoreceptors in it. I had no idea.
I learned that. Yeah.
So you have photoreceptors in your eye that are able to perceive a certain level of light. We can't see ultraviolet light. We can't see infrared light with our eyes. We can see a certain level of light. But we also, the only other place in our body that we have photoreceptors is in our freaking
inside
pineal
of our
gland.
brain. Yeah.
And that is like, what?
It's not actually here. It's
like middle
here.
back. Yeah. But that's, I think, the part of our brain that's like seeing things that aren't in front of us.
Exactly.
Because that's where the photoreceptors
It perceives
are.
more of the universal hologram than meets these eyes.
Yes. And I wrote, jumping off the hologram, the participant then gains knowledge to intuitive knowledge, which the universe offers, which is like the Akashic records.
For example.
Yeah.
And that's on I believe the 9th dimension. So
do we know what all the...
I think there's 12 dimensions. I don't know.
Here, I'll Google.
Let's look it up.
Because I'm actually very curious.
So, yeah, we live in the 3 dimension. There's all this talk about the 5th dimension going on nowadays of the Earth is entering the 5th dimension. And to be honest, I don't exactly know what that means. I'm like, you guys talk about it being full of light and love, and that sounds cool, but I don't really understand what exactly, what else is going on there, other than it's supposed to illuminate a lot of the shadows in our society and our whatever. But okay, this is what I found really cool I kind of have things spaced out, but I think this was towards the end of the hologram talk, and the hologram model accounts for normal perception as well as paranormal and transcendental experiences. So it makes sense. It brings into objective understanding. The saying is that it literally said of the sayings of mystics throughout the ages.
Huh.
So they're like, yeah, like, and I think mystics includes like religious, like prophets and stuff. It talks about that again at the end, about how like this completely aligns with the beliefs of Christianity and of Judaism, and what was the other one? Hinduism. It explains all of this stuff, all of this mysticism. It's like, no, there's an objective understanding of why this is all true. And this is, I actually had a really cool religion teacher when I was in 5th grade that explained this. She was like, the stories and the way we're taught to understand is so humans can comprehend. Like, we need God to be put in human form so that we can understand that God is just this form of unconditional love. It's hard for us to grasp because humans are self-centered, and that's not in the negative connotation way of like, oh, that person's so self-centered. It just means that we
know what we know.
We know what we know. We know what we are. So when we look at God as someone in our likeness, that helps us understand the absolute. And then it said, I'm skipping forward to the end, but it came up. Jesus is the holographic perception of God. So Jesus came down because the absolute was like, I need to represent myself on earth. And with other prophets too, they are holographic representations of the absolute to come teach us about how the universe freaking works. So cool. It was all literally, they're like, yeah, this study basically confirms religion in these ways. And that was so cool. And it said it right there. It explains paranormal experiences. It explains transcendental experiences. It explains, those out of body near death experiences, things like that. It's very cool. Did you look up what were you
the dimensions?
Oh yeah.
Let's do a quick little
dimension break before we hop into the time-space dimension talk, because that's what's perfect. Next.
Okay, so we'll be experts by that point.
Yeah.
So the first dimension is length, so the x-axis.
Oh, yes.
So the first dimension is like a thought.
A thought.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second dimension is the y-axis, so it's height, so it becomes a 2D shape like a square.
And that's like a drawing.
Piece of paper, flat. Mm-hmm. The third dimension is the z-axis, which involves depth. Mm-hmm. Beyond these three lie 7 dimensions which are not immediately apparent to us, but which can still be perceived as having a direct effect on the universe and reality as we know it. Scientists believe the 4th dimension is time. Let's see.
Yeah, what's the 5th dimension? Everybody's talking about space.
According to the superstring theory, the 5th and 6th dimensions are where the notion of possible worlds arises. If we could see through to the 5th dimension, we would see a world slightly different from our own. That would give us a means of measuring the similarity and differences between our world and other possible ones.
Okay.
The 6th, we would see a plane of possible worlds. Where we would compare and position all the possible universes that start with the same initial conditions, like the Big Bang. And if you could master the 5th and 6th dimension, you could travel back in time or go to different futures. So it's like all the possibilities.
Dimensions. That's where you would quantum leap in your manifestation, it sounds like.
7th dimension, you have access to possible worlds that start with different conditions. So in the 5th and the 6th, it all starts from the same point. Like the Big Bang Theory.
Where I was born and who I was born to.
Okay. And then, but the 7th dimension, what if you had different parents? What if you spoke a different language? The 8th dimension gives us a plane of such possible universe histories, each of which begins with different initial conditions and branches out infinitely. And the 9th dimension, we can compare all the possible universe histories, starting with all the different possible laws of physics. Oh, then it's like, what if physics was different? What if this was different? And then the 10th and final dimension, we arrive at the point in which everything is possible and imaginable. Beyond this, nothing can be imagined by us lowly mortals. So it's like we've only been able to imagine up to like that number. Well, I guess the 11th, you mentioned... like Akashic records.
Well, I think the Akashic are supposed to exist on like the 9th or something. Now I have to look that up. I remember when I got my reading, she explained where it existed. The Akashic records are basically records of... I was trying to listen to your description of the dimensions and see if I could figure it out. It's like... it's all possible... past, present, and future. It's like this, she described it as like it's like a wheel, because time is not linear on in that dimension. So it's not really looking to your past or your future, but it does give us information on that timeline. 8th dimension. It exists in the 8th dimension.
So that would be where...
Oh wait, the 11th dimension is the dimension of all space in the Akashic records. And the Akashic records are held in the 22nd and 23rd dimensions. Okay, this says all different stuff. I don't know.
You decide.
Apparently
Put
there's
it where
25 dimensions now. Who knows?
Okay.
You don't need to know all of that to utilize all this to your benefit.
Time, space, dimension. Oh, I love this. The second sentence of this section goes, now the fun begins.
Oh yeah, in the CIA document it literally says, and now the fun begins. And I was like, buckle up, Sadie. So I think important note that it started with is that time in this construct is described as a measurement of energy or force in motion. So it's basically a measurement of change, and how we understand time is the measurement of change, of time as it moves forward. It's a measurement of, in 1 hour I am going to be doing this. But it's basically just a measurement of energy and motion is what time actually is, which I found kind of trippy, and I don't really understand it.
I think I remember like a couple years ago, I looked at a clock. Actually, I remember being in somebody's kitchen and looking at their clock, and I was like, oh, we just like invented this. Like, this isn't the absolute meaning of time. This is just how we are tracking the sun so that we can make appointments and be places at the same moment. Yeah,
it's just a system we created.
I think when we talk about time as being like a measure of change. I mean, look at how time moves through a dog in the first year of life, a baby in the first 5 years of life. Like, that's when I think you can like really, really see it.
Yeah. And so stepping out of the construct of time gains access to the other dimensions. And if we're in in time, as we all are in time right now, because we are not meditating or anything, we can only read the holograms of the active universe. So we can only read the holograms of the 3D universe when we're in the construct of time. However, like, we both have experiences and we didn't really understand what exactly we were doing. When we step into meditation and we connect with someone or their loved one, we are actually stepping out of the constructs of time, because if we were within the construct of time, we could not speak to someone who is not alive in this time.
Right.
So when you step out of the construct of time, then you gain access to people who lived in the past, information from the past. And I don't have experience in seeing the future, but some people do. Some people do have that ability. And it's always the most likely possibility, because there's always, you know, infinite things that affect. Or even if I know Juliet too well, but a stranger comes to me for psychic guidance and I say, oh, I see, you know, trouble in this, energy around this, whatever. I'm not reading 3D information, because that's not available, you know, I'm going into an area where time is not existing. So I thought this was so cool, because I never really thought about it like that. Like, oh shit, I'm stepping out of time in order to be able to do this. It's really cool.
Yeah. Well, and when that's happening, you're not looking at the clock. You're not noticing time passing. So, yeah.
I think sometimes too, when I get into really good meditation, I'll feel like maybe a few minutes have passed, and then I'll kind of come out of it and it'll have been like 30 minutes. And I'm like, whoa, because you're just in it. And okay, that's kind of all I had on time. And then it kind of started talking about the absolute.
Okay. I think I was more interested in the next one, the subatomic particles. But what do you want to share about the absolute?
Let me see if there's anything else. Well, I think we covered all of this, that the absolute is basically it's the infinite nothingness. And so as we raise our frequency, particularly of our brain waves, we become closer to the absolute and being able to tap into that. The infinite nothingness is also just like infinite all-knowing source of knowledge. So this whole experience that they're talking about, which we will describe more about like what actually entails, because it does give us information. This whole time we're just like the gateway experience, but it's designed to reach those high patterns and step out of the confines of time and space to reach other dimensions. And what I thought was interesting is that it does mention like the out-of-body experience, and it mentions protecting yourself as you step out of your body, because there are lower frequencies that exist. And that was just so interesting to me, because we know it to be true. You know, before a reading or before a spell, I always do a quick prayer, like, you know, hey, Archangel Michael, be my gatekeeper, don't allow energies, whatever. But the CIA is like, and if you want to meditate a certain way in order to energetically protect your body so that lower frequencies cannot attach to you, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, it's just so mind-blowing that like our government spends money, spends probably our tax dollars, which for this, I'm like, cool.
Let's up the budget now.
To study this stuff, to study out-of-body experiences, to study like the fact that we can travel and remote view and all this stuff. Is the subatomic particles like the model of the universe as an egg? Is that what?
Oh, it was just a note about how subatomic particles, which are like electrons and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that makes sense. An atom, subatom. So in the below the, okay, I'm using my Latin here. Is it Latin? Okay. So comment below.
What is a subatomic particle? Where are my physicists?
Because sub is below.
Yeah.
So below the atom. So then
so like
protons,
smaller.
neutrons, electrons. Okay. So they have an interesting phenomenon where if they have collided at one point in time, they will react to one another's actions, apparently, even if they are on the other side of the universe.
Right.
And that made me think a lot about mediumship and how if we've collided with people in our lives and we shared moments and memories and love, even if they're on the other side of the universe, in another dimension, even if their physical body is not here, we are still... our particles are still reacting to each other. And I thought that was kind of beautiful. And there were other things coming up where I put in parentheses like mediumship. Yeah. I know this is a science-y paper in many ways, but it's
describing all of these things though.
Yeah, it was just actually very comforting to be like, oh yeah, no, like if your particles have connected in some way, like you're sort of forever connected.
Yeah.
So I loved that. That was my note about subatomic particles.
I've also heard, which I found so interesting, that people who have never been in contact with each other, and this might have to do with that or just the universal consciousness, tapping into the ideas, the information, but it's really common for people to get in like patent
I love this.
Patent issues and stuff, because at the same time, like 5 different people will invent the exact same thing, but they've never spoken. There's no way they're copying each other. It's like they all tapped into the source consciousness and pulled this out of there. Like source was like, the absolute God was like, okay, it's time for this now. Yeah. And dropped it, and multiple people picked it up. And then they get in like lawsuits, but it's like they're genuinely all innocent of copying each other because there's no way.
There's also that thing of like, when you look throughout human history, it's like, how come these two completely separate groups of people invented the wheel at the exact same time?
Yeah,
or like
exactly.
Just certain things at the exact same, like what are the odds? And I've had it happen with songs where like songs will come through and the melody will be so specific and I won't do anything with it. And then like 2.5 years later, I will hear that on the radio.
That's crazy.
Like it jumped to someone else.
Goosebumps.
And so
that's like, Juliet, you had your chance, we're giving it to somebody else.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't really like this song. And then it ended up, and I remember my sister was like, didn't you write this? I was like, I did, but so did they.
That's so cool.
Like there was no way it was stolen. I played it on my piano.
Yeah.
But I just love that idea that like thoughts and ideas, like it's a living, breathing, well, maybe not breathing, it's a living thing. It's an energetic.
It's the radio signals we
pulse,
send out. Yeah, and we pick up on.
Okay, then there was a whole thing about clicking in, clicking out.
Oh yeah, that had to do with the height of your wavelengths. That's what I was talking about, where it was like you want to click out. I didn't really understand this that much. I think I skipped over it.
Yeah, I sort of skipped it, but there's a chart. You can look at it. If you understand that part, comment below. We could get into, let's see, what did I have next? Oh, in number 22, I put the first sentence was a big wow. I put, although human consciousness can, with enough practice, move beyond the dimension of time, space, and interface with other energy systems and other dimensions, the entire process is appreciably enhanced if that consciousness can be detached in large measure from the physical body before such interface is attempted. It's like, okay, CIA, let's just remove ourselves from our body then. Yep. Once an individual becomes proficient in the technique of out-of-body movement and then reaches the point where he is able to break out of the time-space while out of his body or her body, thank you, or their body.
Yeah, it was very non-inclusive.
He gains the advantage of clicking out. Oh, that's what you just said. Part of his enhanced consciousness while starting from a base. Went on and on. Okay, I just love that it was going on about out-of-body.
It's like clicking out of this dimension, I think, is what the point was. Like raising your vibrational frequency to a point where you're no longer a part of the 3D world and you're not attached to your physical body. You've clicked out of time, of space, of physicality.
It's like when you click out of an ad.
Yes.
Just think of it like that.
Later you click back in and you're like, here I am in the 3D world.
And then do we get into like the egg?
The egg, that's what I have next.
Okay.
So I think we'll be able to crop the thing in and maybe put it here so you can kind of see what we're talking about.
Okay.
So I think I wrote this down kind of exact what it said, but maybe this is my interpretation. Model of the universe as an egg and energy flow patterns. So there's this egg, and maybe it's standing here, and you'll see there's arrows going in and out, and it's like past, present, and future, and the white hole and the black hole, and I don't know how to explain all of it, but what I took away from it that was really important is to understand that our universe exists in this egg, and the energy flows through the egg, and past, present, and future all exist within the egg. So we have access to any of that because it exists in our egg.
Yeah.
And let's see. Yeah. Oh, and the energies of the things that happen in the past, present, and future, they leave their mark and tell their story throughout time. So that's why, for instance, psychics, mediums can read that energy, even if it's from the past, present, or future, is because it leaves its mark, which is kind of like what we were just talking about of like a particle interacting with another and going like this. Also, it leaves like a little breadcrumb of its existence. The memory has an energy, and as we cycle through this, we see it as linear time, but it's kind of really the cycle, past, present, and future. We can read that energy at any point because it leaves the breadcrumb behind, and all that exists is the right now, and simultaneously the past and the future exist with us in the now. It's all just now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of the only moment. I mean, when you think about your past, in that moment, it was now. When you think about your future, in that moment, it will be now.
That's why it's so powerful to, part of the manifestation process is to look to the past and like, what are your beliefs you formed from the past, and rewrite that story so that you can form like a new feeling and a new memory, so that you're kind of released of the control that maybe a past negative memory had over you. You like rewrite it to be more empowering. And then that's also why in manifestation you attach feeling to those things that are in your future, because the universe picks up on those energies and it reads them to be true. You're leaving the breadcrumbs of your existence.
You're like leaving the breadcrumbs of your future by manifesting. I loved thinking of the cosmic egg because I was like, okay, well then what's outside of that?
Yep.
I remember being in 8th grade and I had a teacher that said, okay, so like, where are we? Okay, we're in Los Angeles. Okay, where? California. Where? United States. Where? North America. Where? Planet Earth. Where? Our solar system. Where? Milky Way. Where in the galaxy? And then they said, what else? I was like, well, then it's just outer space. And then he said, okay, now draw a box around that. What's outside of it? And I have
goosebumps.
You can't unlearn that.
I think about this all the time of like, how can something be, because the universe is infinite, and I'm like, but it has to end somewhere. But then if it ends, there's something on the other side of that wall, and I get so in my head and so freaked out because I'm like,
I know sometimes I have to just call it a night.
I'm just like,
I'm like, I can't think about this anymore.
But it does help to have the egg, because then you're like, okay, I'm gonna exist in this egg, and I'm not gonna worry about the other stuff.
Just gonna mind my own eggness.
Mind my own egg.
Let's see. What did I put after? It said past, present, and future all exist in the universal hologram simultaneously. And don't let that fool you into thinking that your future is predetermined, and you have if anything, you have complete control over it.
Yeah.
Reality is confined to time and space, so it has a beginning and an end. Excuse me. But energy and consciousness is eternal. And then I put that's cool.
I wrote that down.
Mediumship.
Because, and what I thought was really cool is that it noted that, when our reality ends, our consciousness returns to the absolute, but we don't just become nothing. We retain our memories. And so we maintain our consciousness as separate from the infinite. We are still a separate entity. We're still ourself, and we can perceive, but without a physical body, we don't have like will or choice. We just simply exist. But like, you know, when we talk to our loved ones who have crossed over, they can perceive what we are saying to them, and in turn we can perceive what they think about that. The perceiving goes back and forth, but they don't have like will or choice. So like my mom can't, like, let's say I'm like, hey mom, help me win the lottery. She cannot go change the lottery numbers or something. Like, that's how I understood it. Like, they can't they can offer us like guidance, but they can't change things for us. It's you know, it's just explaining what happens after we die, which is that we return to the absolute as like an infinite just energy source, and we cycle through until our consciousness decides that I would like a brain again. Yeah. And dives back into reality, and then you have a beginning, and then you have another end. It's so cool.
What's funny is there's like 4 or 5 more pages, and I have like 2 sentences of notes left.
That's okay. I have a lot.
Okay.
Well, not a lot, but I have the gateway method that I thought we would talk about a little bit.
Okay. Is that with the tones and sounds? And then, okay. So,
and then it's uses.
Okay. So the gateway process.
And so this is actually something, so I looked it up, and you can search gateway method, and you can like purchase this like guided thing to do this. It's not something you can just read this and do on your own. Unfortunately, it doesn't go into that much detail. It originates from the Monroe Institute, and they actually have lots of classes and stuff for purchase about meditation and like going deeper. So I'm kind of interested to try. Maybe we can go in on purchasing something that looks interesting from them. But for the actual gateway method, it's like this retreat that's like $1,300, so it is expensive. I'm gonna do it someday. I think they had retreats in like Italy and stuff, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go do
that. Sounds fun.
But unfortunately, the gateway method is not like, go spend $20 to download your gateway method. But I think all the information about the biofeedback, you could learn about doing biofeedback, about transcendental meditation, about hypnosis. We know all the bits and pieces we need to experience these things, and the gateway method is just particularly powerful in getting you very quickly to that space. And it was like even the most like practical, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, don't really believe in this stuff.
Skeptical.
Yeah, even the most practical, skeptical people have done this, and like their first try connected to like infinite source and seen things. And so this is just like a very intense method, and of course you can experience all of these things through your own, you know, meditations and all of that. But what's the method? You have it noted down?
I wrote down that they start by playing a particular tone. It's almost like a let's clean the slate. It makes me think of the like that's like attuning you to the universe or to Earth. I think that one is. So a tone sets the tone, and then they introduce different sounds. That's when they introduce the different frequencies, I think. And then I wrote down then some other steps. Then you hold your energy bar, and then I made a joke like, is it a quest bar? JK. And then I was like, don't say that on the podcast.
Don't say that, and then you said
it. And then they begin remote viewing. And then they become a living body map, and they envision healing their own body. And then they travel to the past and then the future. Would you like to go a little deeper on everything I just said?
Okay. Yeah. I had the method was like, they start you off with some specific visualization that we don't know what it is, the humming, a gateway affirmation that we don't know what it is, but you must listen to it, hemisync sound frequencies, And this is what I found really interesting. It brought up the protection again, a protective visualization with a balloon. So it described it a little bit, that you're envisioning like your energy, like almost like the Kundalini, like traveling up you and then out and circling out and then back up like through your feet and up and out. And this creates a protective balloon. I'm putting my motion around, if you're not watching,
making a
balloon around my whole body. Which I envision like bubbles around myself a lot when I'm going out in public. We're not used to people anymore. I notice I get like so much more exhausted around lots of humans nowadays. But it was like, you got to do the protective visualization of the balloon because there's lower frequencies and whatever. So it's really, I just thought that was so interesting. And then you're ready for the different uses. So one of the uses is problem solving. So
it was like, they would give like a math problem or some like really hard thing, and it was like within a few days it would come to them. From the absolute.
So a practical, use would be like a problem in your life or a problem, I don't know, a world problem that we need to solve, whatever, using this gateway experience to tap into infinite knowing, problem solving. The next thing they described as patterning, but it actually was describing manifesting. And this was the one where it was like, warning, if you do this too intensely, you might destroy your reality. And it's basically creating a new hologram pattern, which is why it's called patterning. But it's getting into the, going through this, getting in this state, and then attaching feeling with knowing and seeing it and creating the new hologram pattern. And then it noted that you have to come out of that and know that it takes the universe time to adjust to this new hologram pattern. But you get there a lot quicker if you do this. So if you go into this state and you create the hologram pattern, meaning you're working on manifesting something specific, it will come to you a lot faster. But then it cautioned of like pushing this to be too quick and then you destroy your reality, which I thought was kind of hilarious. I was like, who's manifesting that fast? I guess it's happened to somebody.
I think sometimes Dave, leave the study.
The roof starts crumbling above him and there's like an earthquake, but only at Dave's desk, and you're like,
dang it, Dave,
you manifested too fast again. Sorry. And then there was color breathing, which is a healing technique. We know that like our chakras are associated with colors, and those frequencies of colors have healing in different parts of our body. The energy bar tool is a healing technique in which you the quest bar, it described like the staffs of like religious leaders and mystics throughout the ages, and that basically it's a way to direct energy. And this would be a visualization of an energy like wand and pointing it at like your shoulder, if your rotator cuff's torn or whatever it is. Remote viewing, spying is what they mean, / seeking answers. The living body map is healing, what you talked about. And then so those are all what they called under focus 12, which is the first, or well, I don't know the first, but like a certain depth of being in it. If that makes sense. And then focus 15 is like another step. So you have to, not everyone the first time can go to focus 15, and that's to travel to past. And then focus 21 is even deeper and even more difficult to attain, and that's to travel to the future.
Oh my gosh, if we were a girl band in 2002, focus 15.
Love it.
Or focus 20. Although it depends on our age.
Oh yeah.
Focus 15 or focus 21?
We're focus 29.
Focus 29.
Just kidding. We're only 21. No.
You couldn't pay me.
I don't care about people knowing. I know. I'm like, I'm so excited for my 20s to be over. They were really hard.
I know. I feel
They're
like
so hard.
I feel like what the type of 30s I want is like a Paris Hilton 30s. Like just eternally like youthful and Barbie and luxury.
I love it. That's what I'm going
pink.
for too.
Like I want to wear dresses that I was afraid to wear in my 20s.
Hell yeah. I know. I've been shopping a little bit, and I was like, I used to be like self-conscious about wearing stuff like this, and now I'm just like, now I'm a little bit like, do I look like I'm trying to be a teenager? But I'm like, fuck it, I don't care.
That's fun. It's like we cross the bridge of like.
No, you cared so much when you were younger.
I know.
I'm like, why? Who gives a fuck?
And I think there's a part of me that's very like, I was in many ways like a little bit. I always went after my dreams and stuff, but
yeah,
I was kind of conservative in a lot of other ways.
Yeah,
in my first half of my 20s, and so I have this awareness that when I'm like in my 60s and 70s, I'll be like, "Why didn't you wear it in your 30s when you wanted to?
Yeah,
you know, you had a great body." And so
I'm like, I'm only gonna be this hot for so long. No, I'm gonna be this hot forever.
Focus
No
21. Oh my God, that's Focus our clothing 21. Line. Focus 21.
Focus 29, but it's Focus even hotter 29. Than the stuff at Focus at Forever 21.
Go into Forever 21 and ask for clothing from the brand Focus, the brand Focus 29.
Focus 29.
Oh my gosh, our first merch is gonna say Focus 29, and then there'll be like little inside jokes like obviously and oh my goddess and alien bachelor and.
Yes. Somebody still needs to draw us the alien bachelor, by the way. Re-listen to that episode.
Please.
And please someone draw us the alien bachelor.
Somebody drew us the snake in a body bag.
The snake in a body bag. Wait, we'll insert it here. Hey. Thank you. Oh my God, it made me laugh so hard. Because she said it to me, what is that, a body bag? And I didn't get it at first, that she was quoting me to me, but I still thought it was funny because I'm weird. And then she sent me the drawing and I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that whole conversation. It brought me so much freaking joy, so thank you. Oh my God.
Please send us drawings,
we love
cards, gifts.
We love it.
Do I sound weird being like, send us gifts? I love gifts.
We do.
We did our photo shoot and we were styling the beautiful gifts from Raven's Eye
crystal crowns
from the other
Flow It Out Creations.
Yeah. So you send us stuff, we will plug you and we will take pictures with your beautiful merchandise.
Yes.
And you can use those pictures and post them on your own page.
Yeah, feel free to take those.
So it's a gift for all.
For everybody.
Okay, let's talk about traveling into the past.
so that was kind of everything. It finished up with what I already mentioned was like this description of our universe, the absolute and the hologram, is in alignment with the world's religions, which was just so cool. And I've always said that. I'm like, hey, religions, why are we all fighting with each other? You guys know, right, that you're all saying the exact same thing pretty much. I always loved studying the world's religions. I took a class in college of it, even though it had no good use in my like credits and stuff. I just wanted to take it. I love it. It's so interesting because it's all the same stories, just with different names and slightly different interpretations, but at the very base of it. And why is because just different people were downloading this information. It quotes Buddhist monks that mention things about this. It quotes someone specific from India that has this. Maybe we can put the quotes up here if we find them. But it's all saying the same thing, and it's all just saying like, the universe is this infinite source consciousness. We're here to live out something that's temporary and has a beginning and an end, but in the end we are infinite beings, so there's nothing to fear. And
I keep getting chills.
Yeah, and just the goal, your life purpose is to just like raise your frequency to higher and higher vibrations. And in order to do that, you just need to be you and align with your, most authentic self. That's how you raise your vibration. And that's that's kind of the answer to everything. When you're in alignment, the abundance flows in, you feel happy, you attract friendships and relationships, and everything starts falling into place and life gets easier. And of course there's still parts of life that get you down. You go through cycles. We talk about that all the time. It's not all
a lot of dark nights,
rainbows and butterflies. Your girl gets dark night of the souls more often than she'd like, but you know what? It's okay. Every time I come out bigger and better. But yeah, I was blown away. And there's newly released CIA stuff from about aliens, so we need to do that next.
Oh.
And so I wanted to lead into this, is that if any of you listeners have stories or even photos about seeing a UFO or any experience around extraterrestrials, aliens, UFOs, please submit it to us this week. And maybe we'll wait. Maybe next week we won't do it and we'll do it the following, so we have more time to collect any stories that might come through and we can post it on. But I think
we want to read your hometown alien stories.
Yeah, any hometown, DM us at goddesshangs or email us goddesshangs@gmail.com and let us know. Like, we'll totally give you a shout out if you want us to say who the story is from, but if you're like, I don't want people to think I'm weird and whatever, and you want to be anonymous, that's cool too. Just let us know either way, so we know. Otherwise, we'll just kind of err on the side of anonymous, because we don't think you're weird. We think you're wonderful and amazing for seeing aliens, but we understand the world is catching up with us enlightened beings here. So yeah, let us know if you have any cool stories, because I can't wait to read that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I have been putting on little alien shows because Victor's like, I'm not gonna watch this, and then I'll just sort of like put it on and then and then I'll see him get really into it. It's like, wow, I had no idea. I'm like,
Oh my gosh, I remember when I lived back home for a year in 2015 after my mom passed away, just to kind of be with the fam, and my brother likes to smoke weed, and I came home one day and he was sitting so close to the TV and he was watching Ancient Aliens, and he was like and if you're not watching the video, I'm making a like really concentrated and also surprised face, like, whoa. And he looked at me and he was like, can you believe this? Like, he was, and I didn't know that he was high, and then I was like, oh, you smoke weed, don't you? It was so cute. He was just so enthralled by it all, and he was like, it's all real, and it's all this and that. So shout out for getting me into the alien stuff.
Send us your alien stories.
Yeah.
We're compiling for another week or two any submissions for 1-800-Psychic-Babes hotline. The link is in the description of this video and in our Instagram bio at Goddess Hangs. You can send us your question that you'd like some psychic guidance on air, and it's totally anonymous if you want it to be.
Yep.
And
it's up to you.
You'll have a chance to have your question answered by the Goddess Babes. Yeah.
Also, if there's any topics that you guys want covered, let us know. We love learning about all this different stuff, and I mean, it seems like you guys are into everything we posted so far, but maybe there's something like we haven't come across yet in our experience, and you were like, these girls would love this.
Yeah, send it our way.
Send us articles we could talk about, general subject matter, whatever. Like, send us stuff. We love reading and learning more, and we'll do episodes. I really enjoyed having something to study and take notes about, so I think we should do more of this.
I love it.
Let us know if you guys liked it.
And it wasn't 4 hours. It was like an hour and a half.
I was like, is this like 2 hours? No, hour and a half. That's not bad.
Not bad.
I knew it was going to be a long one.
So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day now that you know that we live in a hologram and also in an egg.
Recovering from that. Took me a while. I'm still tripping out. Let us know what you guys think. Comment. Make sure you subscribe. Share with a friend. Leave us a review. That helps us a lot.
Please and thank you. Please and thank you.
I think we're getting close to 100 YouTube subscribers.
Yay!
And when we do, we will probably do another giveaway. So hint, hint. Share with a friend who loves YouTube.
Have your whole family subscribe.
Kind of stuff. Yes, everybody. My family is like 100 people. That would be so much. Why haven't I told them all to subscribe yet?
I know. Why am I not emailing my family?
Like,
I need to be a better hype girl for myself.
My family is huge. I need to start networking. Anyways, now I'm thinking about that. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Follow us on on Goddess Hangs. Follow us on Instagram at Goddess Hangs. I am Sadie Olson.
I'm at Juliet.Piper.
We have lots of links there if you want to do readings with us, if you want to submit to 1-800-Psychic-Babes, all that fun stuff.
Sadie does really cool spells.
Oh, yeah. I have a group spell. Well, no, I'm in the post. But I'll have another group spell soon. They're for the new moon and full moon. So anytime.
There's lots of ways to hang out with us.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys. Let us know what you thought. Bye.